You will recall that in our next communique of August 10, 2024, shortly after the raid on our secretariat, we promised to address the world press. Today's press conference is in fulfillment of that promise, and it is intended to give you updates. In the said communique, we rejected the police explanation for the invasion of our secretariat, as well as made a number of demands, including the following: the return of the books, publications, and other items of valuables removed from Congress premises, an immediate apology from the police and federal government to Congress for the invasion and discretion of Congress headquarters, immediate and unconditional release of everybody detained in connection with the protest, government to stop criminalizing lawful protests, as well as put an end to the continued harassment of people who hold dissenting views to government. The convening of a stakeholders conference to discuss pressing issues confronting Nigeria and chart a path forward that addresses the root causes of the current unrest: hunger, poverty, inflation, insecurity, and widespread dissatisfaction with government policies. 6, a leadership accountability that ensures systemic issues of profligacy, waste, and mismanagement that exacerbate the suffering of Nigerians are addressed. 7, we also promise to set up necessary machinery to conduct a forensic audit of the national headquarters to ascertain its safety and continued suitability for the use of workers before we ask our members to report to work, even as we consider the invasion a deliberate act of provocation intended to draw us out. We want to inform you that 5 days after these demands were made, government is said to meet even one, suggesting what we had suspected from the beginning: a declaration of a hybrid war against Congress. For instance, in the days preceding the End Hunger protests, the Register of Trade Unions, acting on orders from above, wrote a letter of threat on our relationship with Labour Party, citing Section 15, subsections 234 of the Trade Unions Act. However, in their bid to suppress our voice, they forgot the provisions of sections 39 to 40 of the 1999 Constitution as amended, the Supreme Court decision on the right of public servants to hold political views and to participate, the provisions of African Charter on People and Human Rights, as well as ILO Conventions 87 and 98. Government is also frantically working to reduce to 2 the number of years trade union leaders could hold office. This constitutes a gross interference in the internal running of trade unions in violations of the corpus of labor laws in our country. What concerns government with the tenure of trade union leaders? But besides government's dishonorable silence on our patriotic and well thought out demands, The police have since come out to make further comments on the raid instead of an apology. These comments, in our view, are deserving of our response. A statement signed by ACP Olumuyiwa Adejobi claims that the raid, and I'm quoting, had no connection with the NLC Secretariat, staff, or leadership, but a prime criminal suspect in an ongoing investigation traced to a shop within the building, which they claim was on the second floor. Adejobi, in subsequent media interviews, said the suspect is an international terrorist with a long history of destabilizing nations, including Sudan. He made other wide and unsubstantiated claims. Gentlemen of the press, we find these claims contradictory, self-serving, and face-saving. What were the security personnel doing on the 10th floor when the shop they were after was said to be on the second floor? They said they were after this international crook, in quote, of foreign descent, and yet came hours after offices had closed. They said they were after, between the materials they took away and the terrorists, which had more value? You should ask yourself. If the police truly had credible intelligence, if Congress was not their target, what was wrong in taking the leadership of Congress into confidence? Even if they felt that that would jeopardize the operation, couldn't they have done that at H hour? That is, at the hour of the sting operation. The police now claim that they had necessary legal documents for the raid. We challenge the police to tender those court documents, and we pray they are not contrived or procured documents after the act of invasion. On the so-called international terrorist, for how long did they know of his or her existence? Shouldn't we Nigerians hold the security personnel accountable for letting this suspect operate with carefree abandon for so long if they knew of his or her existence? And if they were just knowing about this dangerous terrorist, in quote, wouldn't this constitute a major intelligence failure on their part? The police and government should stop playing on our intellect. They should also stop diverting attention from the real issues that stare us in the face. Economic policies that continue to unleash hardship on the people. Given these realities, we still advise government to dialogue not only with the leaders of the protest, but honest Nigerians on the way forward, instead of extorting endorsements or votes of confidence from people who are insulated from these hardships. We demand that government put an end to this hybrid war against Congress. However, if government feels 2 years is the best tenure to go, it should be 2 years for everyone, including the president of this country. We advise the government to stop meddling in the affairs of Labour Party, even as its destabilization campaign against opposition parties has reached a crescendo. Our actions are guided by the decision of a competent court of jurisdiction on the issues surrounding Labour Party and Abore. Let me also explain here. The police at some point said our staff made statements to them. We want to correct that impression that none of our staff made any written statement to the police. It was the police, on the contrary, who made a commitment in writing to the head of security at the access gate to these premises. Coupled with this, since the police are so keen to link the Congress with this alleged international terrorist, we challenge the police to show proof of our relationship, either landlord-tenant or otherwise, with this so-called terrorist. Coming to related issues on this matter, the insincerity of government is so manifest. They claimed they were selling bags of rice at 40,000 and had to stop when the rice was being resold at 80,000. Up till this moment, gentlemen of the press, no one has been able to tell us where bags of rice were sold at 40,000 per bag. We continue to demand for an apology from the police and federal government for the unlawful raid of our headquarters. We are not aware of any terrorists in our midst. If government knows of one, it should come out with facts and proof it is sure of, instead of making the country the butt of jokes in the international circuit. As I said earlier, we challenge the police to show proof of our relationship, landlord or otherwise, with this terrorist in quote. And I repeat, for emphasis, the police claimed our security staff made statements to them. This is another falsehood. On the contrary, it was the police that signed the document at the main access gate before they were allowed in. We want to reiterate that even though we are the owners of barricades, we did not participate in the end hunger protest. Government should therefore not rope us. Government should therefore not rope us into something we knew nothing about. Accordingly, we asked government to release those in its custody, including a NUI executive who was arrested at a social spot in Abuja. We advise the government to stop further acts of intimidation against the Nigerian Labour Congress and indeed the generality of Nigerians. Finally, and although we have, to the best of our ability, in keeping with our pledge, done a forensic audit of our premises. We will hold the Nigerian police force responsible for any incident at our headquarters or to any of our leaders or members anywhere, anytime, henceforth. Thank you for your time, gentlemen of the press. You may now wish to ask your questions.
In the building, which office? What is the
mention that it's an act of provocation meant to provoke the Congress, and that you see it coming as a...
Start with the last person. Yes. We issued a press statement on the 22nd of July saying we are not going to be part of this end hunger protest. On the 23rd, when somebody mischievously put out there that we had pulled out of the protest, we issued a second press statement saying we could not have pulled out from something we are not part of. All that to let the parties involved in the protest, both the anti and both the pro and the anti, that were not part of this process, of this protest. In spite of this, government came raiding the headquarters of NLC. It was an act of grievous provocation. And I want to tell you this, not even in the time of military dictators did anybody raid the premises of Nigerian Labour Congress. That's why we describe it a discretion. And if democratically, the so-called democratically elected leaders are doing this, what moral justification do we have to condemn the past military leaders? They should go and apologize to them.